No,
Right.
it's just insane. It's insane. I just want people to embrace reality a little bit. How much money has she made in the last year off of all these sensationalist claims that she's never backed up? And I do all this knowing full well that she is probably going to come after me at some point, in one way or another.
One of the Twitter accounts, the X accounts that I feel like has really been strong on this is called Green Beret Nap Time. And this account is run by an ex-Special Forces guy. And I just want to say thank you for joining me. This is Chase. Have you always been a Candace skeptic? Or if not, when did you start having a problem with her?
I haven't always been a skeptic. I've honestly not really cared about her one way or the other. But then really, when she pulled this stuff and kind of got fired from the Daily Wire and then started her own podcast, it's kind of where I've just been watching from the sidelines. And then, I've watched a few episodes just to get clarity on everything. And it's just, it's clearly you could say a mental break or you could say whatever you want, but it's also a grift, and it's also making her a lot of money, and it's made her the number one podcast, in the world. Is it the world or United States? Either way.
World, supposedly, yeah. Yeah,
supposedly the world. And so seeing all that, all I do is I poke holes in stuff. So I see narratives, I poke holes in them, and that's kind of what I've made my account on, and really just to elevate the truth. The craziest part is, I can't stand the Macrons. I can't stand that whole dynasty. I can't stand anything that most of the French government's doing. But now you're forcing me to be hey, this is insane. Let's talk about this realistically, because all these things you're saying are just crazy. So
well, and that's what to me that makes someone like you so credible, is that I can see that the Macrons do not align with you politically, in terms of any kind of cultural perspective that you have. And you were talking about how this is such a weird thing because it's forced you to be on their side in a way. And I feel the same way about Erica Kirk. I've done videos talking about how I find that she comes across really strange. I find it hypocritical that she's promoted the trad lifestyle, but now she's stepping into this high-powered CEO role. I have critiques of her myself, but what Candace Owens is doing to her, I know she hasn't directly accused Erica, but by all kinds of insinuations and associations and stuff, what she's doing to her, what Candace is doing to Turning Point, what she's doing to Charlie Kirk's memory, legacy, and then, yes, what she's doing to the Macrons, who I also have no great affection for either. It really does. It really needs to be called out now. And I feel like people are finally seeing the light. What's interesting to me about your analysis, and people should check out your page, I'll link to it below, is that as a former Special Forces guy, you actually, you've been on secret missions for the government, yes? Yeah. And so you're, unlike most people, you're familiar with sort of the other side of things and what does go on in the sort of the shadow spaces and with covert stuff. And yet you are still calling out how batshit crazy all of these ideas she has about what's going on, all this espionage and all this are. So I'm curious to ask, what do you find so far to be some of the craziest things that she, or the most problematic assertions that she's made?
What got me was the other day when she posted the maroon shirt thing, and I was like, all right.
Yeah, so explain to our audience what happened there.
Yeah, so she posted that she noticed a bunch of maroon shirts were in the crowd, and that's not the color for Utah Valley University, which, whatever. But and then she was like, and then I had no idea that that was the color of the elite U.S. airborne operations, and then hinting at that basically U.S. airborne operations was, which isn't a thing, by the way. That's not the way anyone in the military would say it. Uh-huh. It's not a thing. And there's tons of airborne, there's the 82nd Airborne, there's all kinds of airborne units, and a lot of them, and we wear green berets, but anyone who's airborne wears a maroon beret. But they're not going out and buying maroon shirts because they're airborne. Even if that was a thing, and then they're not like, oh, we're a part of this clandestine undercover assassination op, so we're going to wear our maroon shirts. It's the same as them pushing that they were there was 19 Israeli cell phones on that were active in UVU at the time of the shooting, and I'm like, okay, well, how many Chinese cell phones were there? And regardless of that at all.
Right.
What kind of assassin or what kind of secret, cabal uses their host nation cell phones in a world where we know that can be tracked? When we got into country, we would immediately buy local cell phones and that burners, and those are what we would use for any kind of coordination outside of us to our team or to like home. And so like in country, no one's getting my US cell number or anything like that. Like it's all insane. And so that was really what and then I just started digging into more, because that's what I do. I see a narrative and I'm like, okay, let's look if there's any truth in this at all. And then if there is any truth, then we'll kind of go with it. So I went through her entire podcast, the series on Macron, and then how it evolved into this assassination plot and all that. And it's crazy. There's zero evidence. She never backs up with evidence. She's the same way that almost all grifters are, is they bring up all these different points. They bring up anomalies. They love bringing up anomalies. Like, this happened, so there was an Egyptian plane, like blah, 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 blah. Like, okay, so you're telling me that the Israeli government, the French government, and the Egyptian government, and the U.S. government, because you said U.S. airborne operations, are all involved in this plot to kill Charlie, but they really started to kill you. They wanted to kill you first because you said Macron's wife was a man. Like, what world does that make sense into people? And it's just a sensationalist, this need to have something. And most people that like, they hate their life, they hate their job, they see on Instagram every day that there's people with millions of dollars and they drive these amazing cars and they live in these houses, and they're like, I don't have that, and I work at a doctor's office in the front or something, or like whatever their job is, and they're disappointed in it. And so then they turn to these podcasts, these sensationalists, to get this finally get something that they can be like, feel something about. And that's, this is all propaganda. This is all IO 101. And we learned this when we first come into the course. And then, like I said, the last thing that I did in the Army was teach a higher level theater, like campaign planning course. And obviously IO is a big focus of that, because it goes through all aspects of
when you say IO, what are you talking about?
Information operations.
Okay.
Saying that she's using the same methods that we would use to push propaganda or information into a country to either demoralize, destabilize, or create chaos. So it's just it's a playbook. Yeah. And anybody can look at it. It's all not all of it, but there's plenty of it that's unclassified and are in manuals that you can just go look up.
What you're doing really well too on your page is looking at the Macron lawsuit and breaking down where Candace, it seems like this, as you said, this is not an unconscious sort of belief that she's acting on, but she actually is choosing to lie, to deceive at times. And I thought that the lawsuit was really interesting in breaking that down, and that it shows how she was deliberately withholding certain information from her audience that was provided by the Macrons to debunk her claims. And she was also intentionally lying about the contents of letters that she had received from them that she was unwilling to show, and apparently lied about Tucker Carlson and some other big figures in the conservative movement being listed in one of these communications from Macrons when they weren't. And of course, I've talked on my channel before, my viewers know this, about various instances where she has put out these coincidences as being symptomatic of some bigger conspiracy without explaining that there was an easy explanation. And so, for instance, the idea that it's somehow sinister that certain units in the French military were training with some of our guys in California at the same time Charlie Kirk was killed, like that goes on, that goes on all the time, these cooperative trainings, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, all the time. I mean, it's called a JSET, or a joint combined exercise. And it happens all over. It happens with regular Army units. It happens with Air Force. It happens with every level of unit, from your regular line units all the way up to your specialized and your special mission units. So there's always some kind of training going on somewhere with foreign nationals. It just happens. And especially with like Five Eyes and with our other allies, so that's like, saying that too is it's just insane. And also it just shows a complete lack of understanding of how the military works, in especially in a space where you're bringing in foreign nationals. Like, this isn't something where you're just like, oh yeah, the French Foreign Legion's coming in, and we'll see them tomorrow. We don't really know what's going on. Like, this stuff has been approved for a year, or more, and it's like it's monitored, and it's highly regulated by the command that's putting it on, and then by their command, and so on and so forth. There's like all of these things she's saying just makes no sense. And it's like saying, and then the gendarmerie stuff, it's like saying, it's essentially an HRT or a SWAT a hostage rescue or a SWAT team. And it's like saying like the like Chicago SWAT is coming over to Kenya to kill some famous person in Kenya. It's like, what? Are you serious? Like,
well,
doesn't make any sense.
And also, speaking of this, of the supposed coordination between our governments, isn't it hilarious that on the one hand, she's been basically accusing Trump and the FBI and various echelons in our government of either directly conspiring against Charlie Kirk or turning a permissive eye toward it. And now at the same time, suddenly she's demanding that these same entities investigate these supposed assassination plots. It's like, come on, Candace, decide what do you think about Trump and our government? Are they a bunch of conspiratorial, evil, Kabbalistic individuals, or are they someone that you can trust to pass along your concerns to? Which is it?
Well, it actually is. She knows they're not going to respond because there's no reason they would respond. Why would you respond to someone being crazy? Like, it's just like, if they did that to every crazy person that called them, they would be responding every day, and they'd be like, oh, this wasn't real either, guys. This wasn't real either. So that's insane. And she knows it's not going to happen. She's going to take a break. She's like, I'm hiding now because I'm super scared. She's going to take a break, and then she's going to come back and she'd be like, there's still no response. The U.S. government must be in on it. And it's like, boom, I got you. I told you guys.
Right.
And like, that's not proof. They're just like, they're not going to embellish the craziness.
Right. And you know what? I also feel similarly about this demand that she has been making that the Macrons provide her with hardcore scientific proof that Mrs. Macron is a woman. They've already provided her with birth announcements, marriage records, photographs, etc. She's demanding now, I guess, either photographs of Ms. Macron's genitals or DNA evidence. First of all, it's insulting that based on lies and mere claims that you should be able to demand that of any woman, any individual. And secondly, don't you know that if the Macrons provided either photos or DNA evidence, then the first thing that Candace would say is, this is faked. This is false. There's 100%. No way to make someone like that happy.
Yeah, 100%. Again, it's all part of this narrative, and she's not going to allow this narrative to go down. She's literally like, the only way this narrative is going to really get crushed is actually, you don't want even there from her standpoint. If the court of law says, or the jury says, we believe that she did defame, had defamatory statements against Macron, like all this stuff, and they rule in their favor, and Candace has to pay all this and make retractions or whatever. She's still not good. She's still going to double down and say, well, the justice system is evil. The judges are leftists, or they're right, or whatever it is that she needs them to be the enemy, and then she'll make them the enemy too. There's no winning.
Right.
Like, she's going to call me the enemy, and like, again, I don't even really care.
Right.
But it's just one of those things. It's like, she's going to attack whoever doesn't agree with her narrative 100%. And I do all this fully knowing full well that she is probably going to come after me at some point, in one way or another, whether it be just like tweeting that I'm a whatever Israel loving Jew, whatever, like all this stuff, whatever she could say, which is, it is what it is. But like, words on the internet don't scare me. And I'm not going to just sit here and watch, especially like, I've built this account and I have a platform to where I can make a positive change. I can tell people, hey, all this stuff, like when you watch my stuff, you're not going to be like, oh my God, that's crazy, we just found this. Like, you're going to be like, I knew it. I knew that was fake. And I kind of believed it because I wanted to believe it. But, now these holes are like too big that have been poked into it. Like, it's fake. That's all I'm offering you. Like, I'm offering you the truth and the ability to look at things from a different perspective that you probably weren't trained in. And then you get to make up your own mind. Like, I'm not going to sit here and string you along and be like, I promise you that I have the proof for this stuff. Like, I'm just going to show you what I got, and then we're going to move on.
Which is the opposite of what she does. She provides all of these different claims, but no actual evidence. And the other thing that I thought that the Macron lawsuit did such a good job pointing out, and and I'm going to cover it this week. I know you already have on your page. I'm going to cover it this week on my channel a bit. But I thought it did a great job of also pointing out how there are gaping holes that Candace leaves open in these conspiracy theories that never get tied up. They never get resolved. Either she'll say, and we're going to show you later on how this connects to this or why this happened, and then never does. or she just simply shifts attention once they answer one of her queries or one of her claims. Then she, for instance, she's like, why are there no photos? Well, then they gave her some photos. These photos are fake, right? And it's always just like this sort of jumping around. And so I don't think that everybody who believes her or who is a fan of hers is stupid or gullible, because I have too many friends and people that I respect on the internet who have stuck with her up to this point. But I will say this. If you are a fan or follower or believer of Candace Owens and you do not at this point have some serious concerns, then I don't know what to tell you, because it has gotten into a crazy zone. And again, you're someone who has seen sort of the other side of the curtain, and you've been on secret missions, and how, like you said, how some of these covert programs operate, and the claims that she's making, they're just too far out there. I want to ask you another thing while it's on my head, my brain. I find it unlikely that the head of the French state, Emmanuel Macron, could just on a whim order the execution of some celebrity podcasters. Like, I know that there are times when the executive branch has gone around like the legislative branch, and we find out later on that, oh, look, they were doing these enhanced interrogations and Congress never even knew about it. But isn't that a far cry from a head of state on a whim saying, this person's lying about my wife, knock him off?
Yeah. I mean, it's completely insane. Like, think about Trump issuing an order to be like, we're going to kill, some famous dude in Europe, right? Like, an ally of an ally nation, like the UK, like Tommy Robinson. Right. Tommy Robinson said something bad about me, and we're going to have him killed. Like, that's insane. Who would he Who would he give that order to? Right. That wouldn't be like, bro, we're not going to just go kill a citizen from an ally. Like, we're not going to go do that. And it wouldn't come, like, again, these things aren't coming from the president anyway. It very, very rarely, Soleimani or certain assassinations, that we have, like military, they're really just high value target hits is what they are, and they're military targets. So this is a completely different operational thing. Like, we're not talking about blowing up somebody in the middle of France. Like, we're talking about a dude that left Iran and is basically coordinated the last 20 terrorist attacks on U.S. forces, and we found him somewhere else.
A Laden-esque figure.
Basically. Yeah. Like, he is a military target, and then they engage him. Like, yeah, Trump knows about that one, right? But like these lower level things, that all happens at a different level, whether that be agency or whether that be from a special mission unit or something like that. And again, it's a target package. It's built and it's monitored by lots of people and JAG. So there's it's just insane to think that the president of any nation, any Western civilized nation, is just going to pull some dudes into a room and be like, hey, I need you to kill Candace Owens. They're like, what, bro? They're like, well, what? She called my wife a man, and I want her dead. And they're like, what? Okay, but why? Who? What? It's just so insane to me that I can't even think about it without laughing. That's how insane it is to me. I'm not saying that governments and there hasn't been assassinations and there hasn't been all these little things. There hasn't been things done by cutouts and other things, but very few of them the president even knew about, so right. It's just,
and people don't often, they don't get that. And they're even with those kinds of in westernized country, particularly, even if the president wanted something like that, it's like you said, it would have to go through a number of other people who are not going to get on board with that. No. And the idea as well in modern society, let me say this. I've had people say to me, Kristen, how can you be so skeptical of conspiracy theories when you yourself believe that it was a conspiracy that killed JFK? Like, I do believe that probably it was an inside job to some degree, the killing of JFK, maybe with the mob's assistance. But anyway, but what people need to understand is in the modern era, there are just too many ways for shit to leak now. You just cannot keep a lid on stuff like that. And also, if there's a difference between saying that maybe some members of the deep intelligence community or the military assassinated their commander-in-chief, that's different than saying that somehow Israel and France, with Charlie Kirk, were able to get the Utah police and that university and FBI agents and all these people in on it. No.
A bunch of countries working together to kill a podcaster. That's just insane. That, again, there's nothing that she could possibly have that would even warrant a hit on her. Like no one's worried about Candace Owens just blowing the lid off of this, right? Like she doesn't ever give any proof of anything anyway.
I know exactly.
Yeah, so at this point, it's like, they have a open and shut case. Now, could it get thrown out on technicality? Obviously. Is there all kinds of things that could like change this? Could they settle out of court? Obviously, all these things could happen. But like this in itself is not. There would be no reason. It would be like, hey, you have a slam dunk case. You're probably going to win it. Now, obviously, there's a chance that you wouldn't. Right. What do you want to do? And you're like, I want to send a hit squad of police to go
exactly.
Kill them. They'd be like, what? But you're winning, bro. Like, what? You're going to win this. And they're like, oh, just send them. Like, no, it's just insane. It's insane. I just want people to embrace reality a little bit. Like, yes, weird things happen. And so this is all, they're taking advantage of a lot of things. They're taking advantage of the fact that there's very low trust in institutions right now, especially federal institutions in the United States. The CDC did all these things. The WHO did all these things during COVID. COVID really damaged public perception on any kind of institution whatsoever. So now they're just cashing in on this because they're like, I can say anything. I can say anything I want, and people are going to believe it because they believed all this other, they think that it's already happening because it kind of already did, So like now they're just adding to the pile and just cashing in on it. And that's what it really boils down to. I mean, how much money has she made in the last year off of all these sensationalist claims that she's never backed up?
Right.
Like, a lot. So, and everyone's like, she didn't do it for the money. She's married a rich dude. And I'm like, okay, have you seen the prenup? Have you seen?
That's complicated.
Complicated. Yeah. Oh man, trust me, I've read into some of that stuff too. I'm not going to speak on that.
Well, I was going to say even the finances. I'm just saying, it's just because she married the son of a lord. A lot of that stuff is tied up and entailed, so to speak, and it's not necessarily going to go to Candace Owens, particularly if that relationship does not pan out. And I know this is not something that you want to speak on per se because you don't have any knowledge or insight on this. But like I've said online in an earlier video, that there have been allegations that have been made on the record by a Breitbart editor, Raheem Kassam, who is a big name in British conservatism, that he was sexually assaulted, by his words, by Candace Owens' husband, George Farmer. And, it's interesting if you look at their relationship, what they've said on record about it is that he proposed 17 days after meeting her. They never had a date or even a romantic conversation. He was just interested in her power and was drawn to her power. And so I'm not saying that their relationship is a sham, but I'm saying that if I were Candace Owens, I would be careful about promoting fantasies about other people's private lives, because I'm not sure hers is tightly sewn up there. But but as to what you were saying about, why would she make up stuff, or why would she be interested in money? She's already wealthy. Well, I also think that this is a woman who does not have a very well-trained mind or a good BS detector. And I think she's interested in notoriety. And also she might actually believe this. I don't know what person is perhaps feeding her information that she believes she's talking to a legit French intelligence source. Like, I don't know what's going on. But what I do know is that lawsuit lays out a really good case for her intentionally manipulating her audience by withholding some evidence that she was given and distorting or lying about a number of things.
Right. It's 250 pages. I mean, it's I don't remember how many paragraphs of
it is
separate
one of
instances.
The most extensive, I think, solid defamation cases. I'm not a lawyer, but I've seen.
That's what, and I had a bunch of people, over the last day or since I posted that, they're like, all they need is a DNA test. I'm like, all right, well, a judge would have to, order that, which I don't see any judge saying, just because Candace Owens said this without proof online to a bunch of people that you are required to do a DNA test.
Right. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's so annoying to see so many right wingers who normally are in favor of bodily autonomy when it comes to like COVID. Don't tell me I've got to get the jab. And you're wanting this elderly woman to either turn over pictures of her genitalia or to give you her blood because this crazy manipulative loon out there is saying she's a man. That's wrong. Sorry.
Well, it's insane. Yeah. Like one guy was like, she could just show her DNA, or he could just show DNA and then this will all be over. And I was like, but that's not the way this works. And he was like, I was like, why don't you show me your DNA that you're a man?
Right.
And he was like, well, no one's accusing me of being a woman. So I was like, okay, I think you're a woman. Send me the DNA to prove that you're a man. And he was like, that's not the way this works. Like, I know it's not. That's why I just called you out on this. Like, don't be stupid about it, man.
Good for you.
Yeah, that's not even what the lawsuit. That's one of the aspects of the lawsuit. But they're going in. I mean, there's, like I said, it's 250 pages, and she's going to have to beat every single one of those every one of those paragraphs and every one of those things that they're talking about, instances they're talking about. She's gonna have to beat that in court. And like, I don't know about you, but that's a lot of stuff to have to defeat. So, I mean,
and the judgments these days can be, as you know, they can be huge. And so Alex Jones, I don't know what the latest is there, but he got $1 billion judgment against him. I mean, Candace could be, I'll just say this, unless she is like an android or something, there's no way that this lawsuit and what's going on behind the scenes is not distressing her. And I'm starting to see her getting snippy online with people questioning her. Today, when she posted again that really dramatic a message that the White House has now received, they're in receipt of my of my evidence, so she put it, and someone reminded her, well, being in receipt of does not mean that they've actually approved what you're saying, that they're actually giving it validity. And she snapped back and she's like, don't tell me what that means. Like, I don't know what English is or whatever.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah.
Right.
Again, she's never going to take it head on either. Like when, was it Laura Loomer or someone asked and was like, will you just show us the evidence so that we can see it for ourselves? And she deleted the comment because it was like gaining too much traction. She deleted her like whole post.
Right.
And it's just, we have to call this stuff out because it's important for people to understand like what's propaganda and what's not. What should we believe and what should we not believe, especially in the day and age with AI coming up. And like, I mean, how long before, a video comes up and they're like, so-and-so is dead. And like, they're just like on vacation and they don't have a phone. Right. And then like people think that they've been murdered and a war could start over. I mean, a war over Franz Ferdinand happened, so like, this is not out of the realm of possibility of things to happen. So, it's important so that people like aren't just sensationalized all the time on all this nonsense. Just
right.
Like, hey, there are big accounts that aren't lying to you every day, and like definitely find those and follow them. But there are a lot of big accounts that are 100% lying every day. Right. I mean, did you see the stuff? What was it?
Well, and I just want to say, I think that too is where Candace fools a lot of people because they look at someone, she's an attractive woman, she's extremely well groomed. And I say that because like, look at me with my, shaggy hair and whatever, but everything about her is so perfectly put together. Everything seems so professional. She has this very calm, she's gifted with a great voice and posture, and she's smart as a whip in a really like raw animal intelligence kind of way. And also people know that she used to be with the Daily Wire and that she's very successful. And they look at all that and they say, surely a woman like this in this position who's made it this far in life, surely she wouldn't be out here putting all this crazy stuff out here unless she had real proof. I hate to say it, y'all, but if you look at her bio, actually it makes perfect sense because her bio is very sketch. And I don't know how much you know about it, but I mean, even just the stuff that's on the record, all the wild ideological swings that she's had. She was wanting to do that website years ago to dox people. Yep. There's a lot of people so need to be more skeptical about.
She interned for Vogue, so like, let's just go back and just look at that. Yeah, I don't know. I think she attached herself to some good people that could get her the start that she needed, the voice and get her out there because she is smart.
Right.
But you kind of see the masks falling off of these people eventually. Right. And it always ends up happening. So they can only pretend to be, a conservative for so long before they're like, they have a platform and now they have, she has 7 million followers. Like she made it, so now she can say whatever she wants. But you also have to think about it. Like, I don't think that anyone's out there paying her like to say things. I don't think anyone's just like,
I don't think
any foreign nations. I don't think anything like that happened. I think that she has a business manager who looks at the engagements and interactions she gets when she says certain things. And when she gets big ones, she's like, oh, well, let's just run with this. Let's do a whole show on this now. Let's do an eight series podcast on this because I did this one and it got 3 million views, or so, whatever it ends up being.
Right. And you were analyzing earlier about what is it that makes so many people now susceptible to this. And you mentioned the idea of institutional distrust. And I think that's huge, and like post-COVID sentiment and all of that. And I also, I feel like what's going on here too is that people do, because of so many things, including technology, changes in technology, people feel so untethered from any kind of truth or stability and faith in our institutions. And I think people are just susceptible now to the belief that maybe everything's a conspiracy, and that the whole thing is a sham. And I think people have lost their sense of critical thinking there. And then I also think social media has created, in conjunction with that, a real Frankenstein's monster of, like, in the past, people might have conspiracy theories, but they were kept out by the filters of what it took to reach an audience. In other words, ABC was not going to hire someone spouting Candace Owens' views. Well, now you've removed that filter, which I think a lot of us think is a net gain. At the same time, the downside to that is that someone like Candace Owens spouting insane or deceptive fictions can now get this kind of an audience and this kind of clout.
Yeah.
So,
and you go back and look at, for anyone that doesn't know, look up active measures from the old Soviet Union. So it was kind of and The Naked Communist, go through that book and just kind of look at what Soviet propaganda looked like and the purpose of it. And they're very, very, very good at it. And their whole goal is to just demoralize and destabilize, create chaos, and just really drive people to the point where they're exhausted and they don't care anymore. Because then once you get to that point, the truth doesn't matter. Like at that point, they can sway the populace however they need to. And that's what has happened, especially since COVID. I mean, COVID was like the kind of catalyst that really set off the distrust in installations. It catapulted populism in the United States, which hasn't really been a thing, at least not in in the most recent time period. But now it is a big thing. I mean, you have tons of people who are just like against the elites that are running our nation, and it's all the elites' fault. All my problems are the elites' problems,
right?
Or it's their fault that I have these problems. And so this constant push of all of this, it's just information overload. It's just you're getting so much from so many avenues, and you can't tell what is true. So the most sensationalist ones, that's what's going to stick the most. The real is going to get lost in the haze of.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. And I just want to encourage everybody to go to your page, and I'll link to it below, against Green Beret Nap Time. And I'm starting a series on Candace this week. I just put out a video. People should check it out. And then in addition to what we're doing here, I'm going to be looking more closely at the Macron lawsuit and also looking more closely at Candace Owens' history, because a lot of people only know this woman as the hyper-polished, very successful person that they're seeing now and really don't know the whole history. Do you want to tell us anything in closing? Are you just on X, or do you have other platforms that you want to direct people to?
I'm mainly on X. I have Substack. I have.
YouTube, your Substack is great. Yeah, people, that's your X. People should check
it's all the same handle, so you can find it. You can either find them all on my X, or it's the same handle of all of them, so you can find them there. I'm not very active on some of the other ones, but I plan to be in the future, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, well, you're welcome back here anytime, and we may do some more collaborations. I mean, it seems like Candace Owens and all this craziness, this crazy grift, it's like the gift that keeps on giving, because we'll probably have a lot to talk about. I'm interested to see what happens when she comes back. She's taking a very convenient break. I know it's Thanksgiving, but it's very convenient of her that she just drops these bombs on everyone and gets in and racks up all the views. Everyone's talking about her, and she's like, I'm taking a little break. But she has taken it, I think, a step too far, and to the point where a lot of people now are waking up and are paying attention and are saying, what the hell is up with this woman and what she's doing? So we will be keeping an eye on it, and we'll probably be talking again. Everybody check out the links below. Check out his work. Check out my work, other videos on this topic coming out. And as always, I appreciate your support. It's the fans, the donations that keep me going. So check out my PayPal link below. Bye.
Thank you.